Another weekend, another strong performance from the top-ranked Oklahoma Sooners. A perfect 5-0 weekend out at the Cowgirl Challenge hosted by McNeese State in Lake Charles, Louisiana. And Oklahoma will now head out to the Mary Nutter, a place that they are oh so familiar with. Ryan Chapman here. It's Tuesday. You know what that means. Another episode of the AllSooners Softball Show. I'll be recapping everything that happened this weekend with a very special guest. Friend of the program, Alex Storako. Yes, that Alex Storako, national champion. She will be joining me to tell you everything she saw at the Cowgirl Challenge, the highs, the lows, what she loved, all that fun stuff as we break down OU softball, as always, here on the AllSooners Softball Show. That's coming up right after this. Just remember, head to allsooners.com for all of your softball coverage, every single bit of video, stories, game recaps, live blogs. It's all there at allsooners.com. And if you're watching this video on YouTube, you like the content, give us a thumbs up, leave us a comment. It really, really helps go a long way as we try to bring a ton of really fun softball content. Enough of me. Alex Storako coming in next. Welcome in. It's Tuesday. Time for the AllSooners Softball Show. Very special guest today. It's not just me gas-bagging about Oklahoma softball. It's someone that you know, someone that you love. She's an All-American, a national champion, a number one overall pick, a pro softball player, both in the diamond and a pro behind the mic now as well. It's Alex Storako. Alex, long time no see. Thank you for joining, and I promise I hit record this time. Of course, we're here to recap second weekend of the season for Oklahoma. Productive weekend out at Puerto Vallarta. Those wins over Duke and Washington that I kind of discussed and we've talked about on our Road to OKC radio show. Duke, by the way, is on a heater since they lost to Oklahoma. Great win for the Sooners. Not the same slate, but still a productive 5 games for the Sooners at the Cowgirl Challenge. Friday, a pair of games. One of those was a 9-0, 9-0 run rule, 5 innings over Central Arkansas. Oklahoma circles back, beats McNeese State, the hosts, 8-1. Saturday, comeback, quick turnaround, 8-0 run rule over Lamar in 5 innings. And then a kind of tight 3-0 game, a little uncomfortable due to runners not being batted in, 2 loaded bases opportunities that didn't come home. That was 3-0 over McNeese State. And then a strong close, 8-0 on Sunday over Central Arkansas, 5 innings. The walk-off walk, a big Jada Coleman explosion, economical there. So, Alex, what did you kind of see? What stuck out to you from this weekend? The improvement that you wanted to see from weekend 1, a strong showing in Puerto Vallarta, across to weekend 2, or maybe stuff that you wanted to see that maybe didn't totally get there as Oklahoma works their way back into the season here?
And had a little bit of a little wave in the lineup of everything. But as we talk about it, this weekend was big in a lot of ways. You saw the run rolls that everyone loves to see, but then also you have a little bit of more uncomfortable win against McNeese, like you said, 3-0. But what I really liked to see, what I kind of expected as well, was Coach Gasso to shake up the lineups a little bit. You saw Boone, the amazing 9-hole. She was leading off in a couple of these games this weekend, and you got Jada to be able to really produce like she's usually been able to and really pick it up. So it was nice to see that there was a lot less runners left on base this weekend. And I think that's kind of a common denominator when it comes down to that tighter-ish, a more uncomfortable game as a fan than that 3-0 McNeese game. There was 10 left on base, so I think that's something you just got to capitalize on when you have those opportunities. Like you said, there was 3 or 2 separate times that they were left bases loaded. Just trying to take advantage of those situations. I thought the pitching staff was amazing again this weekend. Obviously, I'm a little biased coming from the bullpen myself, but it was really exciting to see specifically KD really come back after her first weekend and have an amazing game against Lamar. I was really excited for her and just seeing that confidence in her, as well as SJ. She finally got her collegiate debut, and I was so pumped for her. Obviously, last year as she was a freshman, I got to play with her, and just seeing her really envelop into her role and really just keep getting better every week. And I think she's so underrated, and I know she's gotten better and just more confident in the circle. So she was really exciting to see out on the field.
we'll talk about the lineup here in a second, but I want to dial in on those pitchers you know so well. With Kirsten specifically, Coach Gasso, when she talked to us last Tuesday, she said she did get the sense of maybe a little bit of nerves that goes into that. And so much, Alex, that we talk about when it comes to the lineup, Coach spends a lot of time talking about, like, hey, if you're Terry Jennings and you hit 20 home runs last year, that's awesome, but you can't be thinking I hit 20 home runs last year because that has nothing to do with this year. You have to kind of like wipe that slate. For Kirsten, we saw her in Bedlam. We saw her come on strong toward the end of the year, but at the end of the day, she still pitched under 30 innings. Do you think that was just a matter of her in her head being like, I'm ready to take that step forward, and then just one rocky outing can kind of give you some nerves for the rest of an opening weekend?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that has a lot into play, as well as just her being young. She still wants to prove herself, not only, to an opposing team, but also to her teammates and the coaches as well. And like you said, last year she still had under 30 innings. She's still trying to prove herself. And as you go through your career at OU, I feel like you want to keep continually proving yourself because of just the ability of having transfer portal pitchers in this day and age in softball. And so I love to see that she stepped up to that this weekend and really proved herself in a lot of different ways and was able to really keep that composure and that confidence at the same time. So I think that was huge for KD moving forward into this Mary Nutter next weekend.
You mentioned SJ as well. We had kind of wondered, right? We had heard Coach Gasso talk about 6 pitchers. She's going to use them all, but we didn't get to see SJ weekend 1, how that was going to play out. If you watched her in the fall, and you know this, Alex, but anyone that watched her in the fall knows her and Peyton kind of bring some of the heat, and then you've got all the spin. Nicole does a little bit of everything. Carly and Kelly, all the spin that they bring. But how interesting is that going to be now that Patty Gasso has not just the ability to go righty, lefty. We've seen the combination of Nicole May and then Kirsten Deal in relief, or vice versa with Maxwell and then Keeney, or Maxwell and then Monticelli, but then being able to have different sides you're getting attacked from, different speeds. It feels a really unique that it's 6 pitchers that all have unique skill sets that can mix and match, and I'm sure Coach Rocha has a ton of fun being like, how do I want to attack this?
Yeah, exactly. I think, and you kind of saw a brink of it this weekend where they were very strategic in where each pitcher gets to have their appearance. Like SJ had her just 2 outs in her debut, and then in the last game she finally got to have a couple more innings. So that was really exciting. But I also think that not only is this a pitching staff of 6 righties or 6 lefties, you have that variety, like you said, and you're going to get that down ball, you're going to get the up ball. They really have every pitcher in every kind of situation that's necessary, and I think that's going to be huge in the long game. You see a lot of these games where it's going to be pitched by committee, and I think that's going to be the strength of OU this year, not only just our offense, but the way and the capabilities of that the coaching staff can really use each tool in the pitching staff and being able to attack opponents. I think that's going to be huge this year. And we kind of saw it from just around the country in softball that having that deep staff is going to be the difference maker. And I think that's going to be, I think that was one of the biggest exclamation points from OU this weekend.
It'll be really interesting to see because we saw it for like Oklahoma at Puerto Vallarta. You're going to get a ton of big games stacked same day. They're going to get that at the Mary Nutter. Everything going on in St. Pete Clearwater before that kind of got washed out the back end of Saturday and Sunday. It's like you're talking about, hey, like Oklahoma State, they had to have a big performance, an emotional game against Georgia, and then turn around and play a really feisty Wisconsin team that Oklahoma's going to see this weekend. I'm always interested when you have so many different pitchers, like what the mindset can be as far as maybe not having to have as big an emotional up and down roller coaster when you've got, okay, Nicole May handled this portion of it and this chunk of it, and then Kelly Maxwell knows she might get called upon, but for the most part, she probably knows I'm starting this next game, and she could stay mentally locked. It's kind of interesting to see, and especially how interesting is it for you as someone who this evolution of pitching and the philosophy has kind of happened while you were in college softball, right? You threw 5 trillion innings at Michigan, and then you came back into Oklahoma and way less of a workload, but it was still kind of different because you still got mostly full games, and maybe someone else would come in and close out the 5th in a run rule or the 7th. Not necessarily this 3 or 4 pitchers where you knew you were going to be platooned pitching just 4 innings, maybe 2 times through the line. It's just interesting to see how even since you started that it has changed a great deal.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know Coach Gasso has gone on the record and said that after, her run with Paige Parker, she really wanted to get away from that single pitcher kind of staff. And so she's really bought into it and extremely fast, which is really exciting because I think that's only going to just grow the game in a lot of different ways. But then also you see how the difference of having just one ace or two aces is different in this day and age with a lot more data with hitting. There's a lot more just video out there with a lot of pitchers. So as soon as you get out there in the NCAA world, like people know what you do, and that's not a secret after your first year. So I feel like you're going to see a lot more teams after this year really dive into that aspect. And Coach Gasso, once again, is ahead of the game. So I just feel like that's just going to be a really big part of softball in the coming years, and then being able to kind of confidently go into each inning and know that you're going to have a fresh pitcher, whether that's physically as well as mentally, I think is a huge part as well. Like you said, Kelly's able to maybe take a game off and know that, I won't even have to come in relief in something like this, or, vice versa, whether that's May or someone else. And then you have people like SJ, who's going to be more of a strategic kind of batter to batter kind of pitcher. I think that's a huge, huge play, especially when you have pitchers producing the numbers that they are in the staff.
A lot of video out there for everyone. You have to watch it though for that to matter. Who said that? That wasn't me. That wasn't me. Anything. Anyway, we'll move to the lineup. I'm just gonna throw maybe a word salad of the stuff that kind of stuck out for me, and you let me know, yay, nay, what stuck out to you. First off, I had asked about Riley Boone coming off of weekend 1 into weekend 2. She's as consistent as it gets. I think a lot of people forget that for a long time last year, she was top 2 in batting average. I think she ended up 5th, but she was still second on base percentage. Like, she just makes it happen. And then I was really encouraged by, we saw last year, Jocelyn Erickson, who just got SEC Player of the Week honors, so shout out to her out at Florida. But we saw her come on really strong, and then I think as more people studied her and built a game plan around her, it kind of tapered down just a little bit. And I thought it was really encouraging to see Ella Parker take her first weekend as a true freshman and roll that forward and have a big home run there to close out the weekend. I thought Cassie Pickering gave some really nice at-bats, even if it wasn't the flash with the grand slams and things like that. And then you're just getting all reliable. Alyssa Brito misses a game, slots in. It's like she never left. You get Jada, who I thought moving down in the order was just a good shake-up for her, maybe mentally, of we know what Jada is. She's the best center fielder in the country, and Patty Gasso's talked about her kind of starting slow in some seasons, that maybe just getting her settled back in and not having the, hey, you're batting down, your teammates are going to enjoy some success first, then you can settle in, and then it's good to see Tiara and Kinsey just be the Tiara and Kinsey that we know.
Absolutely. I also think a big part of it too is letting Jada, like you said, she's a little bit further down in the lineup, not worried in the world. She didn't skip a beat, in my opinion, but then also was able to kind of make up for it in all of the defense that she had this weekend. I think she really flashed the leather, and I think that was another big part of this weekend. Was I think the defense got a little bit more tested than we saw maybe first weekend. So I was excited to see maybe some of those bigger plays that were definitely energy shifters within the game and really helping provide that little maybe offensive push that we needed.
I was excited to see Coach Gasso. If you listened to Chris Plank at all this weekend, she talked about in some of her pregame stuff on Saturday and Sunday about how the turf played a lot slower than maybe they had anticipated it would play. They practice on the turf out of Eldell, which is AstroTurf, which is about just as fast a turf as you can find. And so we talked with Kinsey this morning on the Franchise Morning Show about something that actually had to move into turf cleats and stuff like that, which is a little bit different. But you mentioned, I thought you saw, first off, that second McNeese State game, you saw not one but two different Lilio to Tiare back over double plays. And that was good to see because, I don't have questions about Tiare's arm, but it is different coming over from short firing off to first as opposed to where she's been at second the whole time. And it was one of those things that I just didn't think by pure luck the ball found her a lot in Puerto Vallarta, just by the way that the game played out. And I just thought it was a really calming, good weekend for Tiare. She actually got some action at short. And again, not that I was ever concerned about Tiare's defense. She's a great defender. Just the fact that she's able to get comfortable and get those reps at shortstop in a game environment where she really hasn't had it since a couple of games last year when Grace was out with some of the fatigue stuff and all that, and then travel ball was kind of the last time we saw Tiara at short.
Right. And I think another big thing, not only is she getting used to like just that side of the field, but also having to have maybe a little bit more of different second basemen that are filing in there. You see Torres in there, you see Quincy, you see Avery Hodge. Not only is she trying to get used to that position on the field, but also that partner in crime across the field from her that she's so used to having. That's also just a stable part of the game. So I think a lot files into that. And I was really excited to see that there's definitely some amazing plays to come out of that. So
Looks like Patty Gasso too has a way of, if maybe she needs the bat. Torres is hot right now, so she plays like in some of these games she's played the first 5 innings. Then it's really hammer time when Avery Hodge comes in and Patty's like, we're just gonna lock this thing down. Best defensive lineup. It's cool to see some of the tactical switches that Coach Gasso has at her disposal, and she does a really good job. I've always felt of. We talk so much about the mainline players, but there have always been crucial key role players. You think about Hannah Core as a huge base runner 2 years ago. Last year, it was Grace Green coming in and just being a veteran bat who had adjusted to a new role. Avery Hodge did a lot of base running. Jordy in spot duty doing the base run. It's just cool to see Coach Gasso look at the lineup top to bottom and go, what are your strengths and how can it help this team, whether you're an old head in your 5th year of college softball, your final year, or you're brand new. It's kind of cool to see.
yeah, absolutely.
Well, this weekend, Alex, you will be headed out to the Mary Nutter. You sent me your planner earlier today. It looks nuts. Oklahoma, I'm just going to be really candid. I'm not speaking for Alex here, but this is not exactly the Mary Nutter field we're accustomed to seeing Oklahoma play. It's not the marquee UCLA Sunday matchup, stuff like that. Mississippi State, an SEC team that we see a lot of just due to the Ricketts connection and how often Oklahoma and Mississippi State play. Wisconsin, who was really frisky. We mentioned them earlier, that Oklahoma State game. They were up on the Cowgirls. That'll be fun. San Diego State, a tournament team, a super regional team last year. And then you've got Seattle and then Loyola Marymount to close out the weekend. So that'll be really fun. I'm most excited, Alex, to see Puerto Vallarta look like a really good atmosphere as far as fans and stuff. We know that at McNeese State, they were rolling out the red carpet for Oklahoma, but even if there have been players that have played in the Mary Nutter before, you know this, the Mary Nutter with Oklahoma is nutso. This is the event where Patty Gasso coined the term last year that you were like the Beatles, the softball Beatles rolling around, that there are people following you to the bus, all that stuff. I'm just excited. For you, how was that process last year of you got to go to the Mary Nutter, then you got to open up in front of Marita Hines. Then you got to play some Hall of Fame Classic games, and you're kind of ramping into the atmosphere. Nothing compares to the Women's College World Series, but the venues get bigger and bigger and bigger as you go through your first year with Oklahoma throughout the season.
Yeah, I think Mary Nutter was really the first one that I was like, holy cow, this is a different breed. I had never been to Mary Nutter before until last year. So it was a really cool environment, but I think a really big thing is getting those newcomers acclimated to that kind of environment. Because you are literally one with the crowd at one point, because even the warm-up bullpens, you have to go through the crowd in order to get to the game field. So just seeing that as a newcomer, I think that's going to be huge. Like you said, it's not as big games, but to be quite honest, I think Mississippi State is going to be the game to circle for the weekend. They came off a really, really great, kind of exciting past couple of games. They're 8-1. They beat Clemson down in Puerto Vallarta. They also beat Utah down in Puerto Vallarta, and then have a couple wins against Louisiana. And I believe they picked up a player award from a couple of their players. So I think they're going to be just a really kind of gritty team. We played them last year down at their place, but they're just, I think, one that also brings the energy too, and they're kind of a feisty team. And I know Coach loves to pick those teams to play as well, just to get the energy not only from the environment but as well as from the opposite dugout. I think that'll be a really key team. They've got some really good wins under their belt. They have experience in the pitching mound, so I think that'll be a really fun game. But also Wisconsin, coming from the Big Ten, I was kind of surprised by their show out in Clearwater. They lost a couple big games, but they were kind of close with teams that I wasn't really expecting. They went to 10 innings with Georgia, who's this week's number 3 in the polls, I believe, and it was 7-6. They lost a close one to Kentucky. They lost a close one to Oklahoma State, as well as UCF and Washington are under their belt as well. So they aren't scared of the competition. And so they're kind of ramping up into this OU matchup. So I'm excited to see what Wisconsin, who hasn't been in the headlines for a while, really kind of see what they bring to the table with Oklahoma. And then as well as you have Seattle, Loyola Marymount, and San Diego State. I think there's just a lot of different aspects, but I think the environment that OU's newcomers, as well as the just core players, are going to have that feel and environment around as you build slowly for what happens in June. So I think this tournament is a really big factor for that, and it was one of my favorites last year.
Couple of great jersey combos. As a total nerd, I think that it's going to be a very aesthetically pleasing weekend as well. Stuff that doesn't matter, but I enjoy. I frankly loved your guys' super against Clemson because like the orange purple, the orange gray versus the anthracite or the all red, it was great viewing aesthetically from just a college sports fan, stuff that you like to see. But no, it should be a ton of fun. I'll save the Texas conversation for our radio show. So make sure you lock in Road to OKC. There's been a little whispers out there. We have another 1-2 matchup as far as the Big 12. It was OU and OSU for a long time last year. Should Texas beat them? Whatever. Who knows? We'll talk about that on Wednesday. Plus, we'll dive way, way, way more in depth. But on the radio show, which is on the franchise, 8 to 9 p.m. Wednesdays, Road to OKC. You know it. You love it. And Alex, thank you so much for hopping on. Really appreciate it. You are a rock star. Where can everyone find all of your great stuff? If you're not... First, I guess if you're not following Alex already, which I don't know how that happens, but if you're not, somehow, some way, where can you find the great Alex Storako?
You can find me on all social medias at Alex Storako. I make it pretty simple. So
helps to have a really unique last name. There are approximately 7 billion Ryan Chapmans in the world, so it makes it tough. Shout out to the Spark for getting their opener announced as well. That has come down as we see this on Tuesday in the last couple of days, as well as the fact that you're going to have all your home games. I believe that the great Dr. Tina Floyd announced that, all your home games at Hall of Fame this summer. I'm excited. I had to take a big mental break from the wear and tear. You see how busy I am during softball season. You're incredibly busy as well. You didn't get the mental break. You rolled right into Spark. I did take the mental break, but I'm excited to get back out to some Spark games this summer and see you guys show up.
Yeah, if you guys are a Spark fan, pay attention this week to some really big news coming out. So, yeah.
Teaser. Look at that. She's a pro already. Shout out to Alex Storako. Really appreciate you. Don't go anywhere. Got a little bit more wrap-up. I'll tell you what to expect the rest of the week here on the AllSooners Softball Show. Big thank you to Alex Storako for hopping on. Just one of, hopefully, many guests that we'll have rolling through. I'm sure Alex will be a constant fixture as we work pretty closely together doing the Road to OKC radio show, which happens on the franchise, 107.7 The Franchise, Wednesday nights, 8 to 9 p.m. If you love softball, you should come hang out with us there, too. We go really, really in-depth on a lot of stuff. I'm just going to lay out the schedule for the week here. This obviously publishes Tuesday at noon. We're expected to have press conferences Tuesday evening, 5:15ish. So right now, the current schedule is talking to Patty Gasso, as we always do, talking to Kirsten Deal and Riley Ludlam. That's all subject to change. You never know what happens with classes here and there, all that stuff. But right now, the current plan, we will definitely talk to Coach Gasso as well as Kirsten Deal, Riley Ludlam. Every bit of that press conference video, like I said, allsooners.com. Tuesday night, it'll be up. It'll be there for you in all of its glory. The YouTube crowd, as always, John Hoover Media is the spot to be if you're a YouTuber. It works all the same. And then all the stories all week long, allsooners.com. All my work, all John Hoover's work. Great stuff leading up into what should be a really fun weekend out at the Mary Nutter Collegiate Classic. A couple of games on Friday, Saturday, 2 games on Sunday. I haven't gotten the full okay of exactly what that's going to look like. It's back on Flow, so the live blog will be back. Hopefully on Thursday. I'll just, frankly, I haven't gotten that far ahead. Just be candid with you guys, peeling the curtain back. So hopefully we'll have a ton of information as far as when the live blog is going to go up, where to look out for all that fun coverage from the Mary Nutter. We got one more show before then, though. On Thursday, I'll be back to recap everything Patty Gasso said, everything Kirsten Deal, everything Riley Ludlam had to say. We'll be previewing the Mary Nutter as it's one of the huge weekends in the college softball calendar, and we'll be looking ahead as we tick ever so close, a lot closer to Love's Field opening up to kick off things in March. But as always, allsooners.com, everything you need all of the stories, all the video, all the game recaps at AllSooners.com. We churn it out. We love doing it. I love covering softball, obviously, and I'm so glad that you guys are along with us. And then spring football's right on the corner as well, so you don't have to go anywhere. All that, all the great recruiting news, ton of content coming out from our huge team, spearheaded by the boss man, John Hoover, but also Randall Sweet, Ross Lovelace, Bryce McKinnis. We do a great job. Head over to AllSooners.com. But for the AllSooners Softball Show, I'll talk to you guys on Thursday.